I'm not your wife.
The voice came from our honeymoon suite the instant I pushed the door open. I froze in the threshold while Ethan scrambled backward on the king bed. The AC rattled like a broken metronome. Champagne and sunscreen thickened the air. His phone lit up on the nightstand. Digital key shared room 2816. 2 keycards sat in the sleeve where we'd been issued one. So why did my twin sister's voice just come from the dark?
Before we begin, please subscribe and like. It really helps. Wishing you health and happiness. Alright, let's begin.
Chapter 2: The Emergency Exit. The fire door at the end of the hallway had a small window. Through it, I could see Nina's shoulder pressed against the cinderblock wall. She was crying. Good. I pushed through and the door clanged shut behind me. The stairwell smelled like industrial cleaner and old cigarettes. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting everything in a sickly yellow. Lily, please. Nina held up both hands. I didn't know you were coming back. You didn't know. I heard my own voice echo off the concrete. You're in my honeymoon suite, in a robe, with my husband. It's not what it looks like. That sentence. That exact sentence from every bad movie, every terrible confession, every lie dressed up as an explanation. My sister had just handed me a cliché instead of the truth. Show me your phone. I held out my hand. Nina's fingers tightened around the device. Her nails were bitten down, worse than I'd seen in years. She used to do that in high school when Mom was sick, when the bills piled up, when there was no good answer. Nina, phone, now. She unlocked it and placed it in my palm. The screen was still warm. I swiped to the hotel app and there it was, a mobile key for room 2816, activated at 9:47 p.m. the previous night. The push notification history showed the exact moment it arrived. Ethan had sent it while I was at the welcome dinner, listening to him toast our future. He shared this with you. I turned the screen toward her face. Last night, before anything happened, I was just going to drop something off. Drop what off? Nina's mouth opened, closed. Her eyes darted to the fire door, then back to me. The fluorescent tube above us flickered once. He said you wanted to surprise me, she whispered. Said you'd planned something for both of us. Sister's spa day or something. At 10 at night. In our honeymoon suite. I know how it sounds. You know exactly how it sounds because you've been practicing that answer. The stairwell went quiet except for the electric hum. Somewhere below us, a door opened and footsteps echoed, then faded. We were alone with the ugly light and the ugly truth. Nina wiped her face with the sleeve of the robe. My robe, actually. The one I'd packed for lazy mornings with room service. The one that now smelled like her perfume, something cheaper than mine. Something I recognized from our shared bathroom growing up. I didn't sleep with him. Her voice cracked. I swear on Mom's grave. Then what were you doing in that bed? Waiting. He said to wait. The words hit different. Not I went to him, but he said to wait. Not passion but instruction. Something cold slid down my spine that had nothing to do with the AC vent above us. Waiting for what? Nina shook her head. Tears dripped off her chin and spotted the concrete floor. I don't know. He kept checking his phone. Then he heard the door and everything went dark, and then I walked in. Yes. I stared at my twin sister. Same face. Same hair. Same voice that had come from the dark and made my husband scramble backward like he'd seen a ghost, or like he'd expected to see someone else. My stomach turned. The champagne from dinner threatened to come back up. Why would he share a key with you? I asked. Why set this up? I told you, I thought. Stop telling me what you thought. Tell me what he said. Exact words. Nina hugged herself. The robe gaped slightly, revealing the tank top she wore underneath. At least she'd been dressed. At least that much wasn't a lie. He said you'd want me there. He said it was a surprise. And he said she stopped. What? He said not to turn the lights on no matter what. The fluorescent tube buzzed louder. I felt the hum in my teeth, in my bones, in the growing certainty that I had just walked into something far worse than an affair. Did he give you money? Nina's face went blank. The specific kind of blank that meant the answer was yes. How much? Lily. How much, Nina? 300, through Venmo. She said it so quietly I almost missed it. He said it was for the Uber. $300 for a 15-minute ride from her apartment. I knew the rate. I'd covered that same trip a dozen times when she couldn't make rent. What was the memo? What? On the Venmo. What did he write? Nina pulled her phone from my hand and scrolled with shaking fingers. She turned the screen toward me. The memo read, "Don't mess this up." I took a screenshot and sent it to myself. Then I handed her phone back without a word. "Lily, I'm sorry. I didn't think." "No," I said, "you didn't." I pushed through the fire door and walked back toward the suite. Behind me, I heard Nina calling my name, but I didn't turn around. I needed to see Ethan's face when I asked him one simple question. If he wanted a surprise, why did he share the key before I even left for dinner? Chapter 3: The Power of a Name. The front desk was marble and gold and completely useless. "I understand your concern, Mrs. Caldwell." The clerk's name tag read Madison. She had a customer service smile that didn't reach her eyes. "But I'm not authorized to release key card records. It's Torres, Lily Torres, and I'm asking about my own room. The reservation is under Mr. Caldwell's name. He's the primary guest. I'm his wife. We're on our honeymoon." Madison's smile tightened by exactly 1 millimeter. "I understand, but our system requires the primary guest to request any record access. It's hotel policy." I gripped the edge of the marble counter. The stone was cold under my palms. Behind me, the lobby hummed with the sounds of other guests, happy couples, families with children, people whose vacations were going exactly as planned. Someone entered my room last night using a digital key that wasn't mine. I need to know who authorized that access. I can make a note for our security team. I want to speak to security directly. They'll reach out within 24 to 48 hours. That's not acceptable. Madison blinked. Her smile stayed frozen in place. "Ma'am, I can only follow the protocols I've been given." "Ma'am." I'd become ma'am. The word landed like a demotion. A hand touched my shoulder. I knew the weight of it before I turned around. "Hey." Ethan stood beside me, freshly showered, wearing a clean polo and khakis. He looked like a catalog model. He looked like the man I'd married 6 days ago. "Everything okay here, sir?" Madison's entire posture changed. Her shoulders dropped. Her smile warmed. "How can I help you? My wife seems upset." "What's going on?" The ease of it. The casual ownership in the word wife. My wife, my room, my reservation, my power. "I was just explaining our keycard policy," Madison said. "If you'd like to request access records, I can submit that for you right now." Ethan squeezed my shoulder. "Sweetheart, what's this about?" I turned to face him. His eyes were the same blue they'd always been. His face showed nothing but concern. A husband worried about his wife. A man who had no idea why she was making a scene. "Someone came into our room last night," I said carefully. "I want to know how they got a key." "Last night? When you were at the front desk about the billing thing?" Ethan's brow furrowed. Perfect confusion. Textbook innocence. "I was alone in the room. I fell asleep waiting for you." "You weren't alone." "What are you talking about?" Madison watched us like a tennis match. Her fingers hovered over her keyboard, waiting to see which direction this would go. "I heard someone, when I came in." "A voice." Ethan laughed. Soft, gentle, the kind of laugh you use with someone who's had too much wine. "Baby, I had the TV on. Maybe you heard that." "The TV was off. Maybe it turned off." "Timer thing." He reached for my hand. His palm was dry. Mine was sweating. "You've been stressed about the billing error. Didn't sleep well." "It's totally normal to be a little what?" The word hung there. Madison looked down at her keyboard. Ethan's smile didn't waver, but something behind his eyes shifted. A flicker, a calculation. "Jumpy," he said. "Overwhelmed. Weddings are exhausting." "I know what I heard." "I'm sure you heard something. I'm just saying it might not have been what you think." He turned to Madison with an apologetic shrug. "She's been running on about 4 hours of sleep. First real vacation in 2 years. You know how it is." Madison nodded sympathetically. Absolutely. Can I get you both some complimentary coffee? Breakfast is still being served on the terrace. That would be wonderful. Thanks, Madison. First name, friendly, in control. Ethan guided me away from the counter with his hand on the small of my back. The pressure was light but firm. The message was clear: we're done here. Let's eat something, he said. Get some real food in you. Then we can talk about whatever's bothering you. Whatever's bothering me. Like I'd imagined my sister in our bed. Like the key notification on his phone had been a dream. Like $300 to "don't mess this up" meant nothing. We walked toward the terrace. The morning sun streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows. Palms swayed outside. The pool sparkled turquoise in the distance. I saw the notification, I said quietly. On your phone. Digital key shared. Ethan's stride didn't break. My phone's been acting weird since we got here. Random notifications. Phantom alerts. I should probably do a factory reset when we get home. It showed room 2816. Our room. Must be a glitch. With the exact room number? He stopped walking, turned to face me, put both hands on my shoulders like a coach giving a pep talk. Lily. His voice was patient. So patient. I love you. I married you. I don't know what you think you saw last night, but I promise you nothing happened. Can we please just enjoy our honeymoon? I wanted to believe him. Some small, stupid part of me still wanted to believe him. The clerk said security keeps records, I said, of who shares keys with who. His thumbs traced small circles on my shoulders. Then let's request them together. Put your mind at ease. Really? Of course. Whatever you need. He kissed my forehead. It felt like a stamp, like a document being notarized. As we walked to the terrace, I replayed Madison's words in my head. The part she'd said before Ethan arrived. The part he hadn't heard. Mobile keys are different. The system logs who sends them and who receives them. Security keeps those records automatically. Ethan had offered to request key card records. He hadn't mentioned mobile keys at all, because maybe he was counting on me not knowing the difference. Chapter 4: The 3 Missing Hours. The pool cafe had terrible coffee but excellent Wi-Fi. I sat under a striped umbrella, Ethan's iPad in my lap, while he swam laps in the turquoise water. His stroke was perfect. Everything about him was perfect. That was the problem. The iPad was still logged into his Apple ID. Family sharing, location history, app subscriptions, all of it synced to the cloud and all of it accessible because he'd never imagined I'd look. I started with the location data. His iPhone tracked everywhere he went, time-stamped and pinned on a map. The day before our wedding: tailor, florist, rehearsal dinner. Our wedding day venue, hotel, reception. The first 4 days of the honeymoon: pool, restaurant, excursion, room. Then I hit the 5th day, yesterday. From 2:47 p.m. to 5:51 p.m., the location history was blank. 3 hours and 4 minutes of nothing. The blue dots jumped from the spa directly to the lobby bar, skipping over whatever happened in between. I checked the settings. Location services were on. Find My was active. There was no technical reason for the gap, unless he'd turned them off manually. I glanced at the pool. Ethan had switched to backstroke, eyes closed, face tilted toward the sun, relaxed, confident, certain that everything was going according to plan. I opened Safari and checked his browsing history. Most of it was normal restaurant reviews, flight status, a few news articles about a project his company was developing in Henderson. Then I found it. 4 days ago, at 1123 p.m., while I slept beside him, Nevada annulment grounds. The search results were still cached. I scrolled through them, my thumb cold against the screen. Fraud, lack of consent, unsound mind, bigamy, annulment, not divorce, annulment. The difference mattered. Annulment meant the marriage never happened. It meant our prenup wouldn't apply because there was no marriage to apply it to. It meant whatever assets I'd agreed to keep separate would stay separate, including the settlement I'd received from my father's wrongful death lawsuit 3 years ago. Ethan knew about that money. He'd never asked for it, never mentioned it. never seemed interested, but he knew exactly how much it was, because I'd told him during one of those late-night conversations where you share everything, where you think trust means transparency. $240,000. Enough for a down payment, enough for a fresh start, enough to make me a target. My hands shook. The iPad screen blurred. Another search appeared below the first one, timestamped an hour later, prenup void if marriage invalid. He wasn't planning to leave me, he was planning to erase me. I heard splashing. Ethan had reached the shallow end and was pushing wet hair out of his eyes. He waved at me. I waved back. The smile on my face felt like someone else's. I kept scrolling. There was more. A notes app with a list timeline, witnesses, documentation, a calendar event marked private, scheduled for 3 days from now. ML consultation. ML. Morris Law. The family law firm where I worked as a paralegal. He wasn't just researching annulment. He was preparing a case. I thought about Nina in our room, the robe, the mobile key sent before dinner, the $300 with a warning in the memo. Don't mess this up. What if it wasn't about cheating at all? What if Nina was never supposed to be a lover? What if she was supposed to be a witness? A witness to what? I closed the iPad and slid it under the towel on the chair. Ethan was climbing out of the pool now, water streaming down his back. He grabbed a towel from the rack and started walking toward me. You look serious. He dropped into the chair beside me, close enough that chlorine droplets landed on my arm. Still thinking about last night. Just tired. You should swim. Always clears my head. Maybe later. He leaned over and kissed my cheek. His lips were cool from the water. I love you, you know. Whatever you're worried about, we'll figure it out together. Together. The word had meant something different 6 days ago. I love you too, I heard myself say. Ethan smiled. It was the same smile from our first date, from our engagement photos, from the altar. It was the smile of a man who had never lost a game. But I worked in family law. I'd seen 100 cases where one partner planned the exit while the other planned the future. I knew how these things went. The one who documented won. The one who prepared won. The one who controlled the narrative won. Ethan had been documenting. Ethan had been preparing. But he didn't know I'd already seen the playbook. Chapter 5: The Money Trail. Darius King was not supposed to be on the pool deck. He worked for Ethan's company, some kind of expense reconciliation role, from what I understood, and he definitely wasn't on the resort guest list. Yet there he was, sitting at the swim-up bar, nursing a club soda like he belonged there. Lily Torres. He said my maiden name, not Caldwell. Got a minute? I glanced toward the pool. Ethan was back in the water, doing butterfly stroke like he had something to prove. Who are you? Darius King. I work in finance reconciliation at Horizon Development, same company as your husband. He slid a business card across the wet bar top. I flew in this morning, red-eye from Phoenix. Why? Because someone needs to tell you what Ethan's actually doing, and I'm betting he hasn't. I should have walked away, should have found security, found Ethan, found anyone who could explain why a stranger from my husband's company had tracked me to a pool in Las Vegas. Instead I sat down. Darius pulled out his phone and opened a banking app. 2 years ago, Ethan submitted an expense report for a client dinner that never happened. $8,000, billed to the Henderson Project. I flagged it. He told management I'd made an input error. Almost lost my job. I don't see what this has to do with me. It has everything to do with you. He swiped to another screen. 3 months ago, your wedding. Ethan requested a cash advance from the company for a vendor deposit, $40,000. Want to guess where that money actually went? I didn't answer. My throat had closed up. He put it into a personal brokerage account. Day trading. Lost most of it in about 6 weeks. Darius turned the phone toward me. The transaction history was highlighted in yellow. As of last Friday, he's $92,000 in debt to margin calls alone. 92,000. The number hit me like a physical blow. We'd combined some accounts after the wedding. He'd had access to my credit history for the mortgage pre-approval. He knew exactly how much I had and where it sat. Why are you telling me this? Because I know what he's doing. Darius set the phone down. He's not trying to divorce you. He's trying to annul you. Make the whole marriage disappear so the prenup never kicks in. How do you know about the prenup? He bragged about it at the office holiday party. Told Marcus Way that he'd found a woman with enough savings to cover his mistakes, and all he had to do was make sure the marriage didn't stick. The pool sounds faded. The sun felt cold. He needs you to look unstable, Darius continued, or unfaithful, or both. Something that gives him grounds for annulment based on fraud or misrepresentation. Something that makes him the victim. Nina. I breathed the name. Your sister? Darius nodded. I saw the Venmo. He sent her 3 payments over the past month. Different amounts, different memos. The latest one was 2 days ago. You have access to his Venmo, company phone. He synced everything. Didn't think anyone would check. Darius pulled up another screen. First payment for tickets. Second payment help with move. Third payment don't mess this up. I'd seen the third one, but the first 2 were news. How much total? $1,100. Just under the IRS reporting threshold for cash gifts. The pattern crystallized. Payment 1 get Nina to the location. Payment 2 make sure she needed the money badly enough to say yes. Payment 3 make sure she stayed on script. He was setting up a witness, I said. He was setting up a scene. Darius finished his club soda. Your sister in your bed. You walking in. Him looking shocked. Classic entrapment. Except the target wasn't Nina. It was me. You walk in on them. You react. You do something he can document. Scream, throw something, get physical. Then he has grounds for annulment based on your behavior, not his. The chlorine smell was overwhelming now. I thought I might vomit. I didn't react. I just stood there, which means he needs a plan B. Darius stood up. I don't know what that is yet, but I know he's not going to stop. He can't afford to. Why are you helping me? Darius met my eyes. His were bloodshot from the red eye, but steady. Because last time he needed a scapegoat, he picked me, cost me my reputation and almost cost me my job. I spent 2 years proving I didn't steal that money. He straightened his collar. This time, I want to watch him lose. He handed me a USB drive. Small, black, unremarkable. What's this? Transaction records, timestamps, the whole paper trail. He started walking away, then stopped. One more thing. That prenup of yours? It has an infidelity clause, doesn't it? I nodded. He knows. He's counting on it. Darius slipped on his sunglasses. He just has to make sure it looks like you cheated, not him. He disappeared into the crowd of pool loungers. I sat there holding the USB drive, watching my husband execute a perfect flip turn in the crystal water. Everything I thought I knew about my marriage had just inverted. Nina wasn't the betrayer. She was the prop, and I was never meant to be the wife. I was meant to be the villain. Chapter 6 The terms. The parking garage under the hotel was 12 degrees cooler than the pool deck. Concrete columns stretched into shadow. Somewhere in the distance, a car alarm chirped. Nina was waiting by a red rental sedan, arms crossed, eyes swollen. She'd changed out of the robe into jeans and a t-shirt. She looked more like my sister than she had in months. You came, she said. You said you'd tell me everything. I will, but you have to understand I didn't know what he was planning. Not really. Not until last night. I leaned against the column across from her. The concrete was cold through my sundress. Then tell me what you did know. Nina took a shaky breath. He reached out about 2 months ago, said you two were having problems, said you'd been pulling away, getting paranoid, checking his phone all the time. None of that is true. I know that now. She wiped her nose with the back of her hand. But he was convincing. He sounded worried. Said he wanted to plan something special for the honeymoon and needed my help. My help to do what? He said you'd always wanted a sister's trip to Vegas. Said he was going to surprise you with an extra room, extra spa treatments, extra everything. Just needed me to show up when he texted. The pieces clicked together. Ethan hadn't just invited Nina. He'd given her a story that made sense. A generous husband, a struggling wife, A chance to reconnect. When did you figure out it was a lie? When he told me to wear the robe, I felt my jaw tighten. What exactly did he say? That you'd want it to be authentic. That you'd want me to look relaxed, like I'd been in the spa. He said to use your robe, not mine. Said it would be funnier that way. Nina's voice cracked. I'm so stupid. I should have known. What else? He said to keep the lights off. Said it was part of the surprise. Said you'd open the door and see me and start laughing, and then he'd come out of the bathroom and we'd all celebrate together. The bathroom? That's where he said he'd be hiding. With champagne. Nina pressed her palm against her forehead. God, I actually believed him. I believed my sister's husband was planning a nice thing. I thought about Ethan scrambling backward on the bed. He hadn't come out of the bathroom. He'd been on the bed with her, in the dark, close enough that any observer would assume the worst. He was never in the bathroom. No. Nina shook her head. He got in beside me about 5 minutes before you arrived. Said he'd changed the plan. Said now he wanted to see your face when you saw us both. And you didn't think that was weird? Of course I thought it was weird. But by then I'd already taken the money and I was already in the robe and everything was already. She stopped. Her hands were shaking. He said if I left, he'd tell you I'd been stalking him. Said he had texts to prove it. What texts? I don't know. I never sent him anything except responses to his plans. But he said he could make it look different. The cold from the concrete had spread through my whole body. I understood now. Ethan hadn't just set a trap. He'd built a cage around Nina first, making sure she couldn't escape without looking guilty. He needs a witness, I said. Someone to say I'm unstable. Someone to say our marriage was a fraud. That's what I think too. But I swear, Lily, I never agreed to testify against you. I never agreed to anything except showing up. But now you're in it. I know. I studied my sister's face. The same nose, the same eyes, the same 23 freckles we used to count as kids. Whatever she'd done it for rent money and desperation, not malice. I knew the difference. I'd seen malice now, and it had blue eyes and a perfect smile. If I file for divorce before he files for annulment, I said slowly, the prenup kicks in. He gets nothing, okay. But if he proves the marriage was fraudulent first, that I misrepresented something, that I was unfaithful, the prenup is void. No marriage means no prenup. Nina nodded. That's why he needed me. He needed someone who looked like you in a compromising position. Someone who could confuse the story. Could you testify to what he told you? The instructions, the robe, the money? Yes. Nina's voice was small but firm. I have the Venmo receipts. I have the texts. I know what time he sent the key. Why didn't you leave? After you figured it out? Nina was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. Because he still owes me $400, and I was afraid if I left, he'd say I was the one who planned it. She looked at me with something that might have been shame or might have been hope. He told me that if anything went wrong, I'd be the one who looked crazy, not him. Never him. I pushed off the concrete column and walked toward her. My sandals echoed against the garage floor. Nina flinched, like she expected me to hit her. Instead, I pulled out my phone and opened the voice memo app. Say it again. All of it. From the beginning. Nina blinked. You're recording? Every word. Because when this goes to court, and it will, I want every instruction, every payment, every lie documented before he has a chance to change the story. My sister straightened her shoulders, took a breath, looked at me like she used to look at me before life got complicated. Okay, she said. His first message came on April 15th. Chapter 7 locked out. The elevator wouldn't accept my digital key. I'd tried 3 times, tapping my phone against the sensor, watching the red light flash denial. The couple behind me exchanged glances, that polite Vegas look that meant drunk tourist. Excuse me. I stepped aside and took the stairs. By the time I reached the 28th floor, I was breathing hard and my dress was damp with sweat. The hallway stretched ahead, identical doors on both sides. Room 2816 was at the end. I tried my phone again. Red flash. Access denied. I pulled out the paper keycard, the backup they'd given at check-in, inserted it into the slot. Red flash. Access denied. Fine. I'd go to the front desk, but when I turned around, Ethan was standing at the other end of the hallway. He was silhouetted against the window at the far end, backlit by afternoon sun. I couldn't see his expression. I didn't need to. His posture said everything: relaxed, arms loose at his sides, head slightly tilted. Having trouble with the room? His voice carried down the empty corridor. The key isn't working, I noticed. He started walking toward me, slow, unhurried. Had to make some changes to the reservation. Security concerns. Security concerns. After your episode last night, I thought it was best. He stopped about 10 feet away. You seemed confused, agitated. The hotel agreed it made sense to limit access until you felt more stable. The words landed like punches. Episode, confused, agitated, stable. Every one of them chosen specifically, loaded with implication. I was perfectly stable until I found my sister in our bed. Your sister? Ethan's face showed nothing but patience. Lily, there was no one in our bed. I already told security that. There was. I saw her. I talked to her. You talked to someone in a dark room and assumed it was Nina. Hotel security reviewed the key logs. No secondary access was granted to that room. I felt the floor shift under me. That's a lie, is it? He pulled out his own phone, swiped to something, held it up. Room access log for 2816. 2 entries only, both under my name. You shared a mobile key with her. I saw the notification on your phone. What notification? Last night, when I turned on the lights, your phone lit up. It said digital key shared. Ethan shook his head slowly, sadly, like a doctor delivering bad news. Sweetheart, I don't know what you saw, but my phone doesn't show any key sharing. Neither does the hotel system. He deleted it. Somehow, he deleted the notification and the log. Or he'd convinced someone at the hotel to edit the records. Nina has the key on her phone. She showed me. Nina was never here. She's in Phoenix. I called her this morning to check on her. She's worried about you too. The hallway lights seemed to flicker. I pressed my hand against the wall to steady myself. I recorded her. An hour ago, in the parking garage. Something shifted behind Ethan's eyes. A micro expression too fast to catch. Then it was gone, replaced by that same patient concern. Recorded who? Nina. She told me everything. The money you sent her, the instructions, the robe. Lily. He took a step closer. I don't know what's happening to you right now, but this paranoia, these accusations, it's not healthy. I've already called Drive. Reeves. She can do a phone session tonight. Drive. Reeves, our couples therapist. The one Ethan had insisted we start seeing 3 months before the wedding. I don't need a therapist. I need access to my room. It's my room, my reservation, my card on file. He said it gently, almost apologetically. I'm trying to protect you from yourself. My phone buzzed. A notification from my banking app. I opened it without thinking. Account frozen. Joint checking. Contact customer service. My knees went weak. I grabbed the wall for support. What did you do? I didn't do anything. Ethan's voice was butter smooth. But joint accounts require joint signatures for large withdrawals, and you haven't been answering my calls about the mortgage payment. What mortgage payment? The one due tomorrow. For the house we bought together 3 months ago. The one you contributed the down payment to. I thought of my settlement money. The $240,000 I'd saved from my father's wrongful death case. The money I'd put toward our future because Ethan said it made sense, because he said it would be our home. The down payment was mine. The title is joint, so is the account. He smiled, not cruel, not triumphant, just calm, like a man who had already won. I'm happy to unfreeze everything once you've had some rest, once we've talked to Drive. Reeves together. My luggage. It was still in the room. My laptop, my charger, my legal files. I need my things. I'll have them sent down. After you've calmed down. Ethan turned and started walking back toward the elevator. There's a nice lounge in the lobby. Get some water. Think about what you want to say to drive. Reeves. He pressed the elevator button. The doors opened immediately. Lily. He paused, half inside. I love you. I want you to know that, whatever happens next, I love you. The doors closed. I stood alone in the hallway of my honeymoon hotel, locked out of my room, locked out of my money, holding a phone with a recording that might be the only evidence I existed at all. The just married door hanger swayed slightly on 2816's handle. Someone had crossed out married in black marker and written certified crazy. Chapter 8 The Audit. The airport shuttle was 40 minutes late. I waited on a bench outside the hotel, my only luggage a paper shopping bag with toiletries I'd bought from the gift shop using cash. My credit card had been declined. My debit card had been declined. The joint account was still frozen. My phone had 12% battery. I was about to become a woman stranded in Las Vegas with no money and no way home. Then the email arrived. I almost missed it. The notification appeared between a spam message and a promotional alert from the hotel restaurant, but the sender name caught my eye: Clark County Family Court. I opened it with shaking fingers. The subject line read: Notice of filing Caldwell v. Torres petition for annulment. Ethan had filed. This morning, while I was in the parking garage with Nina, while I was being locked out of my room, while I was learning exactly how thoroughly I'd been trapped, he'd walked into the Clark County Courthouse and filed to erase our marriage. The attached document was 18 pages long. I scrolled through it on my cracked phone screen, my heart hammering against my ribs. Grounds for annulment: fraud and misrepresentation. Supporting evidence: affidavits from hotel staff describing erratic behavior and paranoid accusations. A statement from Drive. Reeves noting concerning patterns of distrust and reality distortion. A deposition request for Nina Torres. Nina. He was going to subpoena my own sister. Hearing scheduled tomorrow morning, 9:00 a.m. Judge Catherine Delgado. I had less than 18 hours. The shuttle pulled up. I didn't get on. Instead, I walked back toward the hotel, past the valet stand, past the fountain, through the lobby where Madison watched me with something like pity in her eyes. The security office was on the second floor, tucked behind the business center. The door was locked. I knocked anyway. Can I help you? A man's voice, tired, professional. I need to speak with someone about a room access dispute. Room 2816. A pause. Then the door opened. Raj Patel was in his late 50s, with silver hair and reading glasses pushed up on his forehead. His name tag identified him as Security Operations Manager. He looked like someone who had seen everything. Ms. Torres? He pronounced it correctly. I've been expecting you. You have? Your husband came by earlier, explained the situation. Raj held the door open wider. He said you might be confused about some things, but I don't think you're confused at all. I stepped inside. The office was small, lined with monitors showing feeds from cameras throughout the hotel. Raj gestured to a chair and sat down across from me. Your husband asked me to delete certain records, mobile key sharing logs, access timestamps. He was very persuasive. Did you do it? Raj smiled. It was a tired smile, but kind. I've worked in hotel IT for 31 years. Before that, I built security systems for banking networks. He opened a folder on his desk. I don't delete records. I archive them. He slid a piece of paper toward me. A printout, dated today, timestamped 3:47 p.m. Mobile key share audit room 2816. The document showed everything. Every key issued, every share authorized, every access granted. Ethan's phone to Nina's phone, 9:47 p.m., 2 nights ago. The same timestamp I'd seen on Nina's device. This is proof, I whispered. This is a system-generated audit log from our property management software. Raj's voice was careful, precise. It cannot be edited by hotel staff, only archived or deleted. And as I said, I don't delete. Why are you helping me? Because I watched your husband lie to my face this morning, and I've been lied to enough times to recognize the difference between confused and calculating. Raj pulled out another sheet. This is the access log for your room over the past 48 hours. It shows your husband entering and exiting 14 times. You. Twice. He locked me out. He also modified the reservation to remove you as an authorized guest. At 2:15 p.m. today, 15 minutes after you tried to use your digital key. The timeline was perfect. Every action documented. Every lie recorded. I have a court hearing tomorrow morning, I said. He's trying to annul our marriage. I'm aware. He mentioned it when he asked me to delete the logs. Raj stood up and walked to a printer in the corner. I'm going to give you 3 things. The first is this audit log. Certified by our property management system, time-stamped, unalterable. He handed me the printout. The second is the access log for room 2816. It shows the pattern of control, who was really coming and going. Another printout. The third is my card. He placed it on top of the papers. If you need me to testify about how these systems work, I will. Pro bono. I stared at the papers in my hands. Evidence. Real evidence. The kind that courts accepted. I don't understand. You don't know me. No. Raj sat back down. But I knew a woman like you once. My sister. She married a man who smiled at judges and cried to therapists and somehow convinced everyone that she was the crazy one. He took off his reading glasses and rubbed his eyes. By the time she got out, she'd lost custody of her kids. Took her 4 years to get them back. Did she? Eventually. He put the glasses back on. But not because anyone believed her. Because she had documents, records, the kind of evidence that doesn't need belief. It just needs timestamps. I looked at the audit log. At the precise second when Ethan had shared a key with my sister. At the undeniable proof that everything I'd experienced was real. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Raj walked me to the door. You've got a hearing in 15 hours. I suggest you start preparing. Chapter 9. The hearing. The Clark County Family Court smelled like floor polish and fear. I'd slept 4 hours on a bench at the airport, showered in a truck stop bathroom, and bought a wrinkled blazer from a Goodwill on Fremont Street. My hair was pulled back. My makeup was minimal. I looked like exactly what I was, a woman who had survived the worst 48 hours of her life. Judge Catherine Delgado's courtroom was smaller than I expected. Wood-paneled walls, fluorescent lights, the Nevada state seal looming behind the bench. About 15 people sat in the gallery, other cases waiting their turn. Ethan was already at the petitioner's table. He wore a charcoal suit that cost more than my first car. His attorney, a silver-haired man named Mitchell Grant, shuffled papers with practiced efficiency. They looked like a brochure for successful people. I took my place at the respondent's table, alone. All rise. Judge Delgado entered. She was in her 60s, with sharp eyes behind frameless glasses. She sat, reviewed her notes, and looked up. Matter of Caldwell v. Torres. Petition for annulment. Her gaze moved between us. Mr. Grant, you may proceed. Mitchell Grant stood with the confidence of a man who had never lost a case worth winning. Your Honor, my client seeks annulment based on fraud and misrepresentation. Evidence will show that Ms. Torres engaged in a pattern of deceptive behavior, including fabricating stories of infidelity, displaying paranoid and erratic conduct, and ultimately staging a confrontation designed to extort financial concessions from my client. I felt the gallery's attention shift toward me. Whispers. Judgment. We have sworn statements from hotel staff, documentation from Ms. Torres's own therapist, and most compellingly, we will demonstrate that the events Ms. Torres claims occurred specifically, the presence of her twin sister in the marital suite, are physically impossible given the hotel's access records. Grant sat down. Ethan stared straight ahead, his face a mask of wounded dignity. Ms. Torres. Judge Delgado turned to me. I see you're representing yourself. Yes, Your Honor. Do you wish to respond to the petition? I stood. My legs were steady. My voice was clear. Your Honor, everything Mr. Grant just said is a lie. Murmurs from the gallery. Grant half rose. Judge Delgado held up a hand for silence. That's a significant claim, Ms. Torres. Can you substantiate it? I can. I have documentation proving that my husband orchestrated the events at the hotel. He shared a mobile room key with my twin sister, Nina Torres, 31 hours before I discovered them together. He paid her over $1,000 through Venmo to participate, and he systematically manipulated hotel records or attempted to cover his tracks. I pulled the audit log from my bag and approached the bench. This is a certified mobile key share audit from the Meridian Hotel's property management system. It shows that Ethan Caldwell shared digital access to room 2816 with a device registered to Nina Torres at 9:47 p.m. on April 17. The same night I attended a solo dinner while my husband claimed to be sleeping. Judge Delgado took the document and studied it. Mr. Grant, were you aware of this? Grant was on his feet. Your Honor, that document is unreliable. My client requested those records be preserved and was told they had been deleted. They weren't deleted. I held up Raj's business card. The hotel's security operations manager can verify the authenticity of these logs. They're system-generated and time-stamped. They cannot be altered by hotel staff. This is highly irregular. What's irregular is that your client tried to have them destroyed. I pulled out the second sheet. This is the room access log. It shows Mr. Caldwell entering and exiting the suite 14 times in 48 hours. It shows me twice. And it shows my digital key being revoked at 2:15 p.m. yesterday, 15 minutes after I tried to access my own honeymoon suite. The gallery was silent now. Even Grant had stopped interrupting. Judge Delgado looked at Ethan. Mr. Caldwell, do you have a response to these documents? Ethan leaned toward Grant. They whispered. Grant's face had gone slightly pale. Your Honor, Grant said, we'd like to request a recess to review this new evidence. Denied. These records should have been part of your discovery process. Judge Delgado's voice was steel. Ms. Torres, continue. I pulled out my phone. I also have a recording of my sister describing the arrangement in her own words. The payments. The instructions. The deliberate staging. Objection. Grant was sweating now. Chain of custody. Authentication. She can testify herself if needed, I said. She's in the hallway, along with Darius King, an employee at Mr. Caldwell's company, who has documentation of financial irregularities that establish my husband's motive. I looked directly at Ethan. His composure had cracked. A muscle in his jaw twitched. His hands gripped the edge of the table. My husband is $92,000 in debt, I continued. He married me for my settlement money, $240,000 from my father's wrongful death case. The only way he could access it without triggering the prenup was to annul the marriage. To do that, he needed me to look crazy, or unfaithful, or both. That's absurd, Ethan said. His voice was loud, too loud for a courtroom. Grant grabbed his arm. Is it? I held up the final document. This is a search history from your iPad, recovered from iCloud backup. You searched Nevada annulment grounds 4 days into our honeymoon. You searched prenup void if marriage invalid an hour later. I turned to the judge. He wasn't planning a future with me. He was planning an exit. Judge Delgado removed her glasses and rubbed the bridge of her nose. Mr. Caldwell. Her voice was quiet but firm. I've seen a lot of cases in this courtroom. I've seen legitimate annulments and I've seen fraudulent ones. What I'm seeing today is a pattern of manipulation, financial coercion, and what appears to be an orchestrated attempt to gaslight your wife into appearing mentally unstable. Your Honor, Grant started. I'm speaking. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. The petition for annulment is denied. Furthermore, I'm issuing a temporary restraining order preventing Mr. Caldwell from accessing any joint accounts, modifying any shared property arrangements, or contacting Ms. Torres except through legal counsel. Ethan stood up so fast his chair scraped against the floor. This is ridiculous. She's the one who. Mr. Caldwell, sit down. Judge Delgado's gaze could have cut glass. Another outburst and I'll hold you in contempt. He sat. His face was pale. His hands were shaking. Ms. Torres. The judge turned to me with something that might have been respect. I suggest you retain counsel for the divorce proceedings, and I suggest you do it quickly. I will, Your Honor. Court is adjourned. The gavel came down. I gathered my documents. Behind me, I heard Grant hissing something at Ethan about appeals and motions and next steps. Ethan's voice cracked as he responded something about this not being over, about me not understanding who he was. I didn't turn around. I walked out of the courtroom and into the hallway where Nina and Darius were waiting. Nina's eyes were red. Darius nodded once, the gesture of someone who had finally seen justice done. It's over? Nina asked. The annulment is. I tucked the documents back into my bag. The divorce is just beginning, but that was fine. The divorce would follow rules. The divorce would follow law. And now I had something I hadn't had 48 hours ago. I had the records. I had the timestamps. I had the proof. And I had my name back. Chapter 10 The Coffee Maker. Phoenix in April was brutal. The short-term rental apartment was on the third floor of a building that had seen better decades. The AC rattled like a dying animal. The carpet was beige and vaguely sticky. The kitchen had exactly one working burner and a coffee maker that took 11 minutes to produce a single cup. It was perfect. I'd arrived 3 days ago, after the initial divorce filings were submitted to the Nevada court. My new attorney Diana Vasquez, family law specialist, recommended by my own firm, had secured the temporary financial orders within 48 hours. Ethan's access to the joint accounts was frozen. The automatic transfers were cancelled. The mortgage on the house we'd bought together was under court review. The settlement from my father's case, the $240,000 I'd put toward a down payment on a future that no longer existed, was locked in escrow pending division of assets. Diana said I had a strong claim for full recovery, given the evidence of fraud. Strong claim. Legal language for you'll probably win. The coffee maker beeped. I poured the bitter liquid into a mug I'd bought at a dollar store. The mug said "World's okayest morning person." It was accurate. My phone sat on the counter. I picked it up and navigated to settings, then privacy, then location services. Shared location Ethan Caldwell. I pressed the toggle. The confirmation message appeared. Stop sharing location? Yes. The circle next to his name disappeared. For the first time in 6 months, my husband, my soon-to-be ex-husband, had no idea where I was. Next, family sharing. I removed myself from the group. No more synced calendars. No more shared photo albums. No more window into my life. Then the credit bureaus. Equifax, TransUnion, Experian. I'd submitted the requests yesterday and the confirmations had arrived overnight. Credit freeze active. No one could open new accounts in my name without a PIN that only I knew. I was sealing the exits, one by one. The apartment's single window looked out over a parking lot and, beyond it, a strip mall with a laundromat and a taco shop. Not exactly the view from our honeymoon suite, but the glass was clean and the light was honest. There was a knock at the door. I checked the peephole. Nina stood in the hallway, holding a paper bag. I opened the door. Breakfast burritos. She held up the bag. From that place on the corner. I remembered you like extra salsa. We ate at the tiny kitchen table, not saying much. The burritos were good. The coffee was terrible. The silence was comfortable in a way it hadn't been in years. I talked to my landlord, Nina said eventually. He's giving me until the end of the month to catch up on rent. I got a second shift at the clinic. It's going to be okay. Good. Lily. She set down her burrito. I'm sorry. I know I already said it, but I need you to hear it again. I'm sorry. I know. I should have called you. The second he reached out, I should have called you. You should have. I met her eyes. Same brown as mine. Same 23 freckles. But you didn't have all the information. Neither did I. Nina looked down at the table. What happens now? Divorce proceedings. Asset division. Eventually, a final decree. I took a sip of the awful coffee. Diana says it could take 6 months. maybe longer if he fights it. Will he? I thought about Ethan's face in the courtroom, the crack in his composure, the desperation underneath. He'll try, but he doesn't have the money for a long fight, and now that the debt is on record, his creditors will come calling. Karma. Documentation. I smiled slightly. Karma needs timestamps. After Nina left, I cleaned up the breakfast wrappers and washed the mugs. The apartment was quiet. Outside, a truck rumbled past. Someone honked. A dog barked. Normal sounds. Living sounds. I reached into my bag and pulled out the last thing I'd taken from the hotel room. The just married door hanger, still looped on its red ribbon. Someone had crossed out married and written certified crazy in black marker. Ethan's handwriting. I recognized the slant. For a long moment, I held it, felt the cheap cardboard, remembered the weight of hope it had once represented, two people starting a life, a door closing on everything that came before. Then I opened the kitchen drawer where I'd stashed the evidence binder Diana had assembled. Bank statements, transaction logs, the mobile key audit, the search history printouts, Raj's testimony, notarized and ready. I slipped the door hanger into a clear plastic evidence sleeve and placed it at the front of the binder. Exhibit A. The first thing any judge would see when they opened the file. It wasn't a memento anymore. It wasn't a joke or an insult or a weapon. It was documentation. I closed the binder and put it back in the drawer. Then I poured myself another cup of terrible coffee and stood at the window, watching the parking lot fill with morning light. The marriage was over. The love, whatever it had been, was gone. What remained was simpler, cleaner. A woman in an apartment, a cup in her hand, a phone with no one tracking it, and the knowledge that the next time someone lied to her, she'd see the records move first.
Thanks for listening. I hope this gave your heart a quiet moment to rest. See you next time.